going down on the bed and I rock with bro.
Peace.
What's going on, man?
Thank you for joining me today.
Yes, sir.
Gonna wait for a few more people to join in before we
You
jump
got
in.
it. You got it. I'm just chilling, man. I'm over here at the outsider's house, so I just had to. This is my first time. This is my first time
Tutorial.
ever. Yeah, man. So I'm just making sure I got it all right.
Now you know now.
That's it.
Start doing your lives from the
No,
house.
no. Let me just get this
Yeah, do your thing.
this thing straight. Whew. So you live where?
Indiana.
I thought you were in New York for some reason, but that's good. Hip hop is alive and well in Indiana, I guess.
Yes, sir.
You're in Gary? Where?
Anderson.
How far is that?
30
How's
minutes
that?
from Indianapolis.
Okay. Go Colts.
You but yeah, sort of kind of.
Go Jets.
You been doing good today?
Yeah, man, just running around, just trying to do what I can with the world being shut down, just doing a lot of little errands and literally I'm at the house right now. This is the house I'm in is the outsider's house, the house I bought that was in the movie.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get into that because that's one of my favorite movies of all time.
And I figured might as well come over here and set it up. So
that's dope. Well, welcome to Quarantine Sessions, episode 1. I'm with Danny Boy, legend. You guys all know that. But before we get into a little history, how has this coronavirus been treating you so far?
It's been good, man. You know what? I got to be honest with you. Any touring musician, especially, I've been on and off the road for over 28 years. That part of my life is over at this point, but what it has prepared me for is a lot of hurry up and waiting. And touring is literally 20 hours in a hotel for a 1-hour show, a van ride, and a flight to the next show. So you end up holding yourself hostage in hotels for long periods of time. And ironically enough, I live in a hotel in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So,
okay.
I mean, what are you going to do about it? It's unfortunate, that the world is shut down right now, and I hope we can open it up soon. But yeah, man, if I said it before and I'll say it again, if the forced timeout doesn't, if you don't evaluate what's real and what's worthwhile in life, if this don't get you to like reevaluate that, nothing will. And what's clear to me is that, friendships, family, your health is everything. And so even your chosen family, I have a small family and I usually, the people I run with, they're like my family. So, a lot of my sober, friends, I consider them family like that. But that's the important part, man. And you find out quick when you lock down. Now everybody knows what it feels like to be locked down.
What good do you see coming from this virus when the coast clears?
Yeah, that's it. It's some empathy and some self-evaluation, and hopefully, I probably put on 10 pounds myself in the last 3 weeks, just eating nothing but. I'm just constantly in the refrigerator, like banging everything from from spaghetti to fudge pops to fucking cheese doodles. I mean, I can see it. I'm looking at my shelf. Man, I gotta slow up. Again, you know what? Exercise, good diet. These are the basics that a lot of people do on a regular basis anyway. But if you ain't, now's the time. And the things that people may take for granted, the road trips, being around people, barbecues, shit like that, man, it looks really good now,
Absolutely.
Being locked down. So, but just like that, man, this too shall pass, man. Humans are resilient, I know this from years of drug addiction. I mean, I pushed my body past limits that I never thought it would bounce back from. And it does. And we're as humans, we're a lot more resistant to stuff than we think. But it's unfortunate, and I hope soon, we'll be back on our way.
When the coast clears, what approach do you think artists will take now in creating their music and touring? What do you think they're
Bro, you know what? I mean, that's the $1 billion question. I have a friend that here in Tulsa runs one of the biggest. It's called the BOK Center, and you know, he said we got hit first, and we'll be the last to recover from it, and it's true because you know, they stop concerts maybe 3 weeks to a month before the U.S. when it's a lockdown. A lot of tourists just started pulling out, and they'll be the last to reboot because people will be like, you know, I'm not going to a spot where 50,000 people might be tonight, you know.
Right.
And I don't know if it's prudent for the venues to do that just yet. So, unfortunately, I think there's going to be some type of a system where they're like, I hate to say it, puts me on a conspiracy thing, but I mean, microchips and past papers that say it could go a lot of different ways, but I feel bad for live entertainment right now because it's going to be the last one to get booted back up because again, you put a large amount of people in hot, sweaty rooms, man. So it's unfortunate. That's the one that got hit the hardest. I mean, I'm friends with the theater here. They've got a 90-year-old, maybe almost 100-year-old theater that they kind of did what I did at the Outsiders House before I did it, where they rescued this theater that was going to be demolished. They raised the money. They restored it to its former glory. And they're hard. I mean, who's going to go to the movie theater right now? You know, and it's the little theaters, and then all the movies that were like supposed to release. I mean, so the entertainment industry is going to get hit hard, as well as restaurants and all the other small businesses. It's the small businesses I'm more worried about than the big ones. But everybody, travel, hotels. I live in a hotel. It's a ghost town right now. I mean, other than the people who live in the hotel with me, you know, I mean, I've never seen it so quiet. So.
What do you think your steps are going to be when you get back out to the music? Are you
It's the same shit I've been telling you I'm not going to do. Eat more ribs, be out there at the barbecue spot, running errands.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, bro, it's life as usual. Again, the forced time out really just makes you really think of, you know, the things that you should be grateful for, which are, you know, hot shower, shelter over your head, warm blankets, good friends, good food, you know, food in the fridge, those type of basic things, man. Sometimes it's easy to forget how blessed we really are. But this thing really drives that home, you know.
Right. Well, for everybody joining me, I am with Danny Boy, House of Pain, La Coka Nostra. We're going to get into a little history and then bring it all the way up to where you are today. You were born in Brooklyn?
I was born in Brooklyn and raised in Los Angeles, California. Used to go back every summer to New York and New Jersey. So I used to hold court. I used to I would go to school in LA and then I'd go back to New York or New Jersey for summer because I had aunts and uncles that lived in NY and the Jersey Shore. And so I would bring out skate and surf culture to them. I'd be rocking Vans when nobody on the East Coast knew what Vans were, which is crazy now because everybody rocks. But back then, if you were wearing Vans, OP, and Lightning Bolt, they knew you were from California. And then I would come back with Pumas and Lee jeans and all the B-boy shit. So, and it would be a scavenger hunt. Every summer I'd go looking for fat laces, name belt buckles, anything East Coast I would bring back to LA. And then when I'd come back for summer, I would bring back all this California shit. So it was a very poor man's Glenn Friedman experience. You know, a lot of even bands back then were regional. You know, bands like Oingo Boingo nobody ever heard of in New York, and Fishbone and all that shit. And then there were bands in New York that nobody really, they were regional. Now everybody knows who they are, but at the time it was still a smaller world. So very, very interesting and diverse, you know, range of stuff going on. But I paid a price too back then, man. If you weren't into rock and roll, if you were a white boy and you weren't into just like Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin, it could be problems. And so I learned to fight at an early age too, man. And people call me Disco Dan. I'm 6'6", 200 and whatever, but I was thin growing up, but I could fight. But you called me Disco Dan back in the days, and I'm gonna set it off because I love disco. I like disco. My mother had an amazing Motown and disco record collection, and I loved it. But those were fighting words back then because they were trying to sun you and talk shit. So Disco Dan could get you lumped up back in the day, but it was true, man. I was you know, anything that had like a beat to a Gap Band beat to it was my thing. So, and then
how did you first get into hip hop?
I mean, pretty much like everybody else, Rapper's Delight was a big deal. And because I left New York at an early age, I always had this warm, fuzzy feeling and love for New York. And at the time, there was a lot of, it ain't like today where the world is like one big singular, we all kind of dress and talk and look the same. And so when I would come back from summers, people would be like, yo, he's weird. Like, say quarter. I'm like, quarter. They're like, say water. I'm like, water. And they're laughing. And it was like I was from a different world. It was like Karate Kid, except for nobody was putting their hands on me. But it was just, the transition was tough to make back then. And so I always had this fantasy of like, one day I'll live back in New York again. And I always wanted to go back to New York early on. And then, you know, through years, you know, you grow up and then you forget about that. But I've always had a love for New York stuff. So by the time, you know, Grandmaster Flash came out with The Message, and I started seeing like, okay, this is not just this one weird pop song, you know, Rappers Delight. Now there's a bunch of different ones, Curtis Blow and Grandmaster Flash. Now I'm starting to feel that, and that energy was what attracted me. But the whole B-boy shit to me is what was my love. I mean, you know, in order to have a culture, you got to have 5 things that make that culture. Originally, and you know, that's art, which is graffiti, a language. I mean, speaking back in the day, if I said that shit was fresh, my grandmother would think I said something wrong. Like, fresh was when you said a bad word. She's like, you know, stop being fresh. Or, you know, bread was fresh. But, you know, we were talking different. We were drawing graffiti. The instrument is a turntable because nobody had ever heard anybody, you know, break beats and scratch. Fashion-wise, it was like, bro, that was my first real love of it, was rocking, again, Lee jeans, Adidas Campus, Top Tens, Fat Laces, Kangol, all of that shit. And then music, you know, hip-hop. Bro, I mean, and by the time Beat Street came out, it was all over. I mean, I was already in, but I was also, like, I was a rude boy, like, on some mod shit for a while. I was a little bit of punk rock. I was, you know, I liked everything that was, like, counterculture, you know? And hip-hop, if you're a white kid living in suburbia, you listening to hip-hop, believe me, it's as punk as you could get back then, because I'm the kid that if I was hanging out with another kid in the Valley and their parents came home, they would be like, Michael, can we talk to you in the kitchen? And that meant I got to go, because the dude who rocks baseball caps and doesn't talk like normal white kids talk, he's got to go, because they looked at me like I was a bad influence. The truth is, I wasn't, you know, that's the perception when you dress, talk, act different than the norm. So, right.
So how did you link up with Everlast and DJ Lethal?
Everlast, we grew up in the same neighborhood. We crossed paths. We'd be at the mall. I mean, the mall back in the day is the internet. If you young cats don't know, that's where we used to just run it up. Like, we would you would get draped out, hit the mall and see if you could get it to crack. And if you ran into other B-boys, they, you know, they would salute it or they would clown. And so Eric was one of the early, like, white B-boys. There was a handful. Epic, the kid was doing beats for Belle Biv DeVoe, and you know, he made that group Crazy Town later on. But, you know, Epic went to high school with me. Divine Styler went to high school with us. Everlast was in there. So there was a mix of people that were coming from New York, transplants that were into hip hop early on. So Eric was just one of the, you know, a handful of white B-boys in that crowd that, you know, we knew each other. And when he first put the first record out, I loved it. I thought it was dope. I liked the style. And he played me the first demo to Syndication in his dad's truck. We were at a yard where people used to graffiti, and he played it. And I literally thought, this motherfucker has the nerve to play me a Rakim joint that I never heard, that is fire, and he thinks I don't know it's like Rakim. I'm like, who the, you know? But it was Eric, and he was dope. He was that dope. And I was like, so when his record finally came out, it just didn't make enough noise. I guess, you know, Warner Brothers to me, and this is, again, you know, I don't speak for Everlast, man, and God bless him. But to have a record out in high school was monumental. I mean, that was like, that just didn't happen. That's number one. Number two, I thought the record was dope, but looking back, I think Warner Brothers didn't know how to market a white rap guy in 88, 89, whatever it was. And so they had him doing one song that sounded like this. Let's make one video that caters to this. They were trying to play all the bases safe. And so I just don't think it just resonated with anybody. And really, for me, I was like a fan of his shit, but I was also, I understood that as like a tough white boy myself, I needed someone to represent me. You know, like, if you're listening to Big Daddy Kane, he got you. You know what I'm saying? But I need a dude like that for me, for white guys. And Eric had the ability, but he wasn't spitting the shit that we were doing. So when we got together, I was like, spit that Irish shit, spit that like that gangster white boy shit. Like, they're good. The brothers are good. They're doing their thing. They don't need us. Let's do us for us. Let's spit that Irish, wild out shit. And that St. Patty's Day punch you in your face shit. And that is when we made that connection. And that's when fans started going, that's what I needed. I wanted to hear that from you. No disrespect to Search and Third Base, but I wasn't fucking with that. Like, I liked the Beastie Boys because they were original and they did their shit. Third Base to me just was like, it's not even about skills or this. They just were not in that. We weren't doing that. Like, I didn't need that from them. I felt like they were patronizing, and they wasn't, again, God bless. I got nothing but love for Search, man. Great dude. But looking back, they weren't saying what I needed to hear. And I figured if me and Eric could sit down and put something together, that this could be the thing that was missing. And it was. I mean, that record sold millions of records right out the chute. And your people are still, I'm getting tagged and shit all week long in Wisconsin. They're doing like jump around for the COVID-19 thing because they can't go outside, but they're going outside on their lawns and they're using the jump around because they use it for their Wisconsin Badgers stadium shit. And they're like, yo, come check out what we're doing. Help us, come jump around with us. So, the song is still popping, but the idea of House of Pain was really, it was, if you know how Suicidal Tendencies was doing it in the punk scene, they had a gang of dudes from Venice, man, a ragtag bunch of dudes, black, white, Mexicans, all wearing flipped up. They had their hats flipped up and their flannels all, and they were hitting you up. And I was at those parties because I was a gangster white boy who was in a punk gang. And so I took that punk mentality and that punk gang cholo mentality, and we put that in the House of Pain. So when we came out, Eric was bald-headed. We came out with flannels and our hats flipped up and putting our hands on people. That was our energy. Our energy was that punk rock gang, Venice style for the, for 92. If that makes sense. I know it's right. Like, yeah. But that was the difference maker. That's what people want. And that's what people still look for House of Pain. If dude's right out there playing his guitar and that's great. That's Everlast. But that's not House of Pain. House of Pain is that shit that we were doing back then, the three of us, not him doing whatever the fuck he does. So, right. Yeah. No. But you bugged me out because I was just telling my friend, we were on the way here to the house, and I was like, this dude, I see you on the internet, and I'm like, you do the same shit I do. What you do with your collection and the way you're passionate about it is what I do too, man. I'm the dude who finds a doorknob and goes, yo, this shit is dope. Let's build a house around the doorknob. Right. I don't need the gram plans and all that shit. And my hip hop collection used to be bar none throughout the years and drug addiction prior and all of that stuff. I got rid of a lot of stuff, but what I did hold on to, and this is what I was trying to tell you, I said, I got something for you. So I was thinking about you, man, this week, because I'm trying to lighten the load, and you asking now, I'm gonna string it together this way. This quarantine shit makes me realize I got too much stuff and stuff I've been holding on to, stuff that's priceless to me, but it's really, it's not something you want to sell. They wouldn't bring that kind of money anyway. So I've been holding on to a lot of stuff. I let a lot of stuff go prior to moving to Tulsa, man. I had 1,000. I used to work for Mass Appeal, so I had every issue times 10. I had all of those magazines that every hip hop man I used to have the Source, the stapled ones. I bought probably issue 1. I used to subscribe. They used to beat me out of them because they would barely send the fucking thing. But I had it all, and I let a lot of go. But what I did not let go is posters. And I brought some of those posters here to show you guys. And I'm going to send you all my posters. So I'm going to gift you my poster collection. And when you're ready, I'll start dipping in. I got a bunch of them here. Yeah. But I feel like I don't know you. We never met. We never talked. But I see in you what the passion that I have for keeping the dream alive, keeping history alive, and making sure it has a home. And now that I'm in Tulsa, my real calling is to do